Are we seeing the death of the business suit? Welcome to Mark and Pete Live. I am Pete, the clergyman. With me, as ever, is Mark, the businessman. Now, we've got a fascinating episode this time. And Mark, what have you got for us about suits? There's something happening in the world of the business suit, which is quite disturbing.
Well, it is. It's all about sartorial elegance. Are we
Sure.
seeing the death of the business suit?
Mm.
Now, what's interesting is that certain retailers, including the big ones like Marks and Spencers, have decided to no longer sell men's suits. And this is simply because of the dramatic fall in sales. Well, it's not a surprise, is it? Let's face it, many people have come out of the office. They don't necessarily have to be always on display. They can work from home and perhaps get away and do their work in a casual way. Maybe many people have seen some amusing scenes of people perhaps not even dressed properly, dare I say, on video collaboration platforms. But yes, my worry here is that actually, potentially, not only are retailers losing out on a lot of money, but actually that maybe we are getting a bit sloppy in our attitude. But here's a thought. Are we simply not following suit? A smart suit and a shiny boot once cut a figure that was tastefully attired to look astute with fine repute, and what was successful that folks desired. Now there's no dispute with less commute. A waistcoat is wasted and no longer required. Home working's a hoot. Casual clothes look cute, and the old tie has finally retired. Clergyman Pete, I ask you, should people return to wearing a business suit even if they're working from home?
Well, I think that there's something about the suit which says business and makes you feel that you're the business.
Ah,
I think that men wearing suits is part of how we function as a society. As soon as we stop wearing suits, we're not behaving in a business-like manner. You can say, "Well, I work better, feeling more comfortable." For some jobs that is true. If you were a contortionist, you wouldn't want to wear a structured jacket. But I think
no.
for most jobs, you can you are restricted a little bit in a suit, but that is making you feel more business-like. You know that you're at work, and of course, in a suit, you look great.
Yes. Well, I think we should come to the business facts here. It's all about the bottom line. Now, on the article which we saw recently, which was published, and I believe that we're going to show something from the BBC, folks. Yes,
Yeah.
now what we see here is that the total sales of them in the UK have fallen by 2.3 million over the last 5 years, and that's according to the market research firm Kantar Group. It said men purchased 2 million of them in the year to July compared to 4.3 in the million in the same period in 2017. So we're seeing obviously a dramatic drop. But here's the thing. It's not just about the suit, is it, folks? Because then you've got the shoes and maybe the paraphernalia. Do you need an umbrella to travel anymore? Because you may not be traveling. Maybe you don't need the scarf. Maybe you don't need the gloves. Maybe you don't need a raincoat anymore. So that whole attire, that package that we got so used to wearing, we don't need to do that anymore if you're working from home.
Mm.
So, but I do think we do need to get to the fact that whilst actually people, employees, perhaps don't have to spend quite so much. And I would like to interject at this point, which is at one time, I remember people were actually given an expense account for actually going to buy a suit. You could actually
Mm.
have
Mm.
a certain amount of money to go and buy a suit because you were representing the company and that was your
Yes.
uniform. Whereas
Yeah.
today you
Yeah.
don't need to do it. And so we're
No.
all sitting there in t-shirts and underpants and and clergyman Pete,
But
I wish you'd have put
interestingly,
yours on.
this it does seem like this the Marks and Spencer and presumably other retailers
Mm,
who sell suits are seeing that the suit may be out, but smartwear of some sort is back in. Um, like as you see on the screen now, in the different part of this
yes.
article, different types of stylish, smart clothing. So a suit, of course, is really only by definition a suit if the fabric is of the same between at the
Yes.
top or the bottom or parts of it. So, but you can wear what's effectively a suit, different trousers and a jacket. So therefore, look a little bit more casual, but still look smart. Now, for me, that's fine. But I still, it's not quite as businesslike as a suit.
No.
And if you're in business, why don't you want to look businesslike? I don't see the issue. I think suits look good on man, but also they're good for making the man feel more businesslike, having to
Yes.
stand up straight, encouraging him to stand up straight, rather, encouraging him to be reminded that he's got to be on businesslike behavior.
Well, I think we should also point out that Kantar did actually highlight that it said that although there had also been a fall in sales of women's suit over the
Mm,
last 5 years, it was less pronounced than men's
mm,
professional wear. Now, that's
yes.
unusual, isn't it? So, are we seeing a dynamic where maybe the lady is actually perhaps thinking more about standards and appearance and being slightly more formal in the way that they actually conduct themselves whilst they're performing work? Or are we seeing something else? Now, this is, of course, obviously just a study that was done in Britain, but of course, obviously, studies will be done,
Mm.
I believe, in other parts of the world.
Yeah,
Um, so, yeah,
I think
just wondering, do you think there is a dynamic? Do you think that there's a dynamic between men and women where they have a different attitude?
I think that this is my opinion. I think that the drop in buying of men's suit being greater is because more men. I think it's a function of the fact that more men wore suits
Ah,
and they felt under the compulsion to do so, whereas women, not as many were. So it seems that it's lower. I think a lower drop because there weren't as many in the first place. That's my opinion. But
yes.
in other words, you may see a large number of women not a lower number of women not wearing suits, but that's because the women who were wearing suits had chosen to do so, whereas for
Yes.
men, they were sort of almost forced into it. But
No.
I don't think that needs to be the case because suits don't need to be that formal. They're more formal, they're better, they're more businesslike. And if you wear a suit really as separate, so not actually a suit, you can be quite casual, but still looking businesslike.
Well, I have a
So,
slight concern.
yes.
Well, there is a trend for more and more people, perhaps, to travel a little bit more. There's a little bit more openness to go back to offices. But there is the dawn of reality that the suit that you could once get into 2 years ago, it may not fit. Um,
Yes, yeah.
and on the day when you're asked to turn up for that very important meeting with the CEO or your your managing director, and you suddenly realize that the last notch on your belt is not good enough. And I do worry that actually planning and preparations are everything here. So maybe as a tip, whether you like the idea of being formal or not, there may be occasions where perhaps you might call upon yourself to going back into that suit or that formal shirt and tie and suddenly realize that actually it doesn't fit.
Yes.
So
Well,
I
I
would
have
always.
one final comment, which is a bit of advice that I would say. I think maybe you'd agree with this, Mark. I think if it is the case that despite my best efforts and advice that people stop wearing suits
Mm,
even when they go back into work, or and I would say have stopped wearing suits maybe when they're online in terms of video conferencing. I would say if you wear a suit, then you're going to stand out and seem more businesslike. There's no question about it. You look like you're more with it. You look like you're one of the people who are rising to the top. You look like you're more important maybe than you actually are if you simply wear a suit. So I would say get a suit, and it
well,
may mean that you need to lose a few pounds or simply buy a larger pair of trousers to go with the suit. But whatever,
yeah,
make sure if you're wearing a suit that you make sure that it's seen on camera. Make sure that you wear a nice tie with it. I would say would be better
yes,
to try and get yourself to look not just a
a,
nice tie that fits with the
a
suit.
good Windsor
If you've
knot.
got a good business suit with a tie, you're going to stand out. You're going to get ahead in your career.
I don't know about that because my worry here is my final comment is
Yes.
I was very much for, as you say, standing out. I used to wear a tie quite significantly anywhere through the day, but this was, I will admit, in a fixed-based office. And although many people were still wearing smart attire, they didn't wear a tie. And the point here is that one, I thought, well, I upheld the traditional values of being formal, but also it did make me stand out. But today, I just think that it might send out the message, ironically, that you might be perceived to be more important than you actually are. And I think that it could back you. Well, what I would say is think about the culture, think about what everyone else is doing in the organization. So definitely stand out, but there are other ways to stand out.
There
So
certainly
just
are.
think
Well,
about it.
yeah. Well, that's about all from us, Market Beat Live, for this episode. But remember, we want to hear from you. Let us know what you think about wearing a suit. Do you think that they're going to make a comeback? Do you always wear a suit? Well,
Yes.
come what may. Or do you think that it's best to just go naked and
Wear your
wear
birthday
your
suit.
birthday suit? That's what I was going to say. Bye for now. See you next time, everyone. Bye.